Good afternoon, everybody, and a very big welcome. I'm Stuart Popham. I chair the board of the City UK, and it's my very great pleasure to be, in some respects, the Master of Ceremonies here, but please do treat me as being very much at the edge, because the real stars of the event are the authors of this magnificent vision, of which more a little later. For those who are not so familiar with the City UK, we were established last year to provide a strong voice in the UK and internationally for UK-based financial services, and also, most importantly, for related professional services. And our main objectives are to promote understanding of the industry among the UK public and with those who influence political opinion, to support the competitiveness of the industry and to promote the industry internationally. And we provide constructive advice, the practitioner voice on trade policy, on aspects of taxation, regulation, and other legislative matters that affect the competitiveness and the sustainability of our sector. We've conducted extensive research. We run a national and international events program to inform that debate. And the senior team at the City UK regularly engages with policymakers, regulators, both here and overseas, ensuring that the sector's views are represented at the highest level. And in fact, the Next Generation Vision began from just such a conversation that I had with a senior politician about the tone and the focus of our regular meetings. Because since the financial crisis, the conversations with policymakers, regulators, consumer groups, and the media have all really focused on ensuring we understand the mistakes in the past and that we take the necessary steps to reduce the chances of those mistakes being repeated. Now, quite frankly, I would argue that we understand the reasons for the crisis. They've been examined, they've been written about in really very great detail. In fact, books have been written, films have been made. And we've discussed the regulation and policy that can govern capital, reward, all the things to build up the resilience in the system from future shocks. And those are vital concerns, vital conversations, conversations that the public demand that their politicians drive forward, conversations that the financial services sector leaders fully embrace. And our part in those discussions has been to put forward positive ways to develop regulation and the approach in general. I've said it before, but I think it's worth repeating, that the sector has been misportrayed as the unwilling bride dragged to the altar of regulatory reform. But that really is not the case. We understand that the public sees more regulation as an answer to the problem. And we can only hope, I think, to regain our reputation if we are seen to support regulators as they go about their work. The challenge is to ensure that better regulation is delivered. And by better, I mean regulation that prizes stability, but doesn't restrict Europe's ability to grow its economy and grow jobs, both here and in other EU member states, at a time when, quite frankly, they're even more necessary than in other times. And all this effort, though, all these conversations are essentially backwards looking. They discuss how to stop something recurring. They don't address what we want to happen, the goals we'd like to see, the outcomes that would serve us well as a society. And I believe that now is the time to add to the discussions about not repeating past mistakes, and in parallel to discuss what we as a society want from financial services in the future, not just this year, but in a decade, in 20 years from now. What role should financial services play in civil society? And beyond the facilitation, the functional facilitation of the movement of money, what does actually society ask of us? What challenges does society face that the financial services sector is well or better placed to address? And as public sector funding reduces, how should the financial services sector respond? People live longer and have more time in retirement. How can financial services play their fullest part? And in discussion with the policymakers, we agreed it was appropriate to have a vision for the future role of the sector. At last, to move the focus from the simplistic, we don't like what we see today, to the more constructive, this is what we want to see in 2020. And that is why the Next Generation Vision was born. And rather than ask a group of executives who are potentially, shall I say, moribund by their responsibilities today, I asked a group of 21 high flyers in the industry to set out what they want their sector to stand for and how they see the sector can play its fullest part in society. The City UK asked members to select these high flyers, the people already marked out as future leaders, the sort of people who might be fast-tracked or on a programme of high potential. These are people who have chosen to work in financial services, who have proven capable in building their careers in our sector, and these are people who are the likely leaders of the sector in the future. And once you meet them today, I'm sure you will agree that they are the candidates for senior roles in the years to come. Some, I'm sure all of these young men and women will rise to the top in our sector. And we asked them to describe their vision for the industry that they will one day run in 10 or so many years' time. What is their vision for the sector? And they come from across the sector: banking, insurance, fund management, retail, institutional. They include lawyers and consultants from the professional services that cross over with financial services, matching indeed the footprint of the City UK. And we gave them just one rule to follow. Their vision has to contain, we said, within it the right to be successful. Ours is a commercial sector based on creating profits for our shareholders. And while we imagined the balance of that might be challenged and the broader stakeholders of customers and society be brought into sharp focus, we didn't want that to be at the cost of profitability. The Next Generation Vision is not a formula that sets out the action plan to get there. It's rather a picture of how the financial services sector can play its fullest part in the communities we serve. Equally, it's not a list of what is missing from the sector today. The vision calls for a moral code, and as you will hear from Richard Sermon's speech later, the sector has already made great strides in pulling together the codes from across the sector, from company, professional, livery. There are many moral codes already defined and lived out in the sector. The way we bring those to life universally is well underway. Nor is the Next Generation Vision a formula each member will slavishly follow and implement. It is, though, an inspiration to what can be achieved. It is a direction that can help leaders of today to prioritize their activities. It is, in my view, a starting point of a discussion with the public to see what they want our sector to grow to become. So today you will hear a lot about how the vision was informed and the base understanding that the team had in approaching their task. You will hear about their deliberations and their process, and you will hear about their vision. What you will also hear is their passion for making our sector interwoven with the communities we serve in a way that is valued by those communities. And I hope you take as much inspiration from this as I do. I hope you see this as a catalyst for a wider debate on the proper role for financial services and the related professional services. The City UK will support those discussions through the internet, through events, and through the media. And I trust we will not be alone in this, and that the debate will be wide-ranging. But I don't expect those discussions to detract in any way from the parallel discussions on avoiding the errors of the past and the implementation of regulation and policy, indeed like that outlined in the Vickers Review. Those remain vital. But I do think that time spent working out what we want the sector to grow into is equally essential. So, what is the Next Generation Vision? What did they conclude? Well, here, in their own words, is their vision.
The pace of change around us is faster than ever before. Generation Y is leading that change, expecting transparency, information and instant, always-on access. Corporations, politicians and society as a whole are coming under new scrutiny and being judged from fresh viewpoints. So how should financial services react? What's going to be required of the sector in 10 to 15 years' time? What could the vision for the sector be? To answer some of those questions, 21 people early in their careers in financial services and across the sector, retail and wholesale banking, insurance, asset management, business schools and professional services, came together to write their vision for their sector. What do they want to take over when the time comes for them to run it?
The Next Generation Vision project was a unique opportunity to work with people from across the sector and to debate how we want the sector to be when our generation comes to run it. Right from the beginning, I think, we were all inspired by the fact that regardless of which part of the sector we came from, we shared the same hopes and aspirations.
The team were fortunate enough to have access to senior figures and industry experts who really put time in to help us understand the issues that we were faced with, such as regulation, customer needs, sustainability and economics. The calibre of the experts was stunning. They really gave us the opportunity to challenge existing ideas, debate the issues that we faced and really come up with our own ideas for the future generation.
The most insightful part was the opportunity to attend consumer groups up and down the country. It was really great to hear what people expected from financial services, to see their reaction when we got it right, but also to see how they felt when we got it wrong.
I think everyone welcomed the opportunity to stand back and to listen to consumers talking not just about one product or service, but about their goals, their hopes and their aspirations, and how financial services can play a part in enabling to realise those. That opportunity to listen was really key to our thinking.
Armed with the experts' views and consumer insights, each member of the team was asked to distill their own ambitions for the sector.
After the expert views, we each put together our ambition statement in a video. And looking back to those videos, I have realized how close we have come to our ambition as a group.
We're very proud of our sector when it's working at its best, and we certainly have the intent to make it successful. And that success has to be defined as delivering very superior value to our customer and giving back to the society and the community we operate in that we take from it. And to do so continuously over the long term rather than just occasionally.
Well, it was terribly empowering when all of the vision statements came together and we realised there was this sort of a lot of common themes running through all of them. I think the most significant of those was this feeling of a part of society, not apart from society.
So what was that vision? Well, the Next Generation Vision is presented in three parts. The ambition, the building blocks for delivering this, and the big steps required to work towards it.
Our ambition is to harness our industry and the talent within it so that every individual, every business and the nation as a whole can prosper.
Harnessing the industry so that its strength moves forward the jobs and growth outside the sector that depend on the financial services for its success, and not just through loans and financing, but also through using our expertise and skills to make sure that our local projects and local businesses are sustainable, successful, stronger.
Our ambition is built on the idea that financial services can underpin the success of others, and their success measures our own success.
We didn't feel our company should take on non-profitable customers. However, we did conclude that we should work together with others, such as the government, to find solutions for these customers.
A wealth of detail lies behind the ambition statement, ideas and definitions of how that ambition can be put into practice.
We created a structure for how we wanted our vision to be realised. We broke this down into several areas. Firstly, our role in society. Secondly, our values and behaviour as an industry, our products and services and how we develop them.